Should Democrats have an open debate about possible new leadership in Washington? We are joined by someone who knows all about it, New York Democratic Congressman, veteran Joe Crowley, and politics professor Jason Johnson, also an MSNBC contributor. You saw the setup. What are your thoughts?
Well, you know, having lived through this most of my life politically, being on the heels of a number of folks in the House of Representatives, and I think everyone understands that's the way the game is played. You know, obviously, I continue to have, for most of my career, a generation. I think a generation in the House was virtually skipped in terms of providing leadership opportunities because maybe people stayed a little too long in the House. Maybe myself being one of them. When I lost my primary, I was 56 years old.
Who would you lose your primary to?
To Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
You brought it up. You brought it up. So that was a generational shift.
I'm making a point, though. I had 20 years of experience at that time, and yet people who stayed even longer than I did didn't have an opportunity to be in the House leadership or full.
Right, but that's because the leadership is so concretized that you can't get in there because people stay. So should Chuck Schumer...
I'd also say Nancy was more than competent as well.
Okay, but
she was very good at what she does.
She was very good, but also we showed the full screen of how the gerontocracy seems to go across the parties. Is it time for Chuck Schumer to consider stepping aside?
I think it's a decision for the Senate to make. Look, he's 73 years of age. He has 5 years between now and his next election. You know, I think...
But it's not just a question for him. It's a question for the Democratic Party, is it not?
Well, ultimately, it's a question of the Democratic Party of New York State, whether to make that decision or not. It's not the country.
Well, he's got the job from the Senate caucus. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But if they had no confidence in him, just as they did with eventually with Joe Biden, let me show you Jimmy Kimmel to lighten it up and give you the vibe. Here's Jimmy Kimmel.
We won't rest. We won't rest. Oh, we are so I mean, we are doomed. All these old men. Look at who we have running this country.
What is the risk to Democrats of moving beyond someone who has served well a long time and trying new people as they go into a midterm where they say a lot is on the line?
Well, no one ever said that Chuck Schumer had good rhythm. I've never said that.
Okay.
He can barely sing, I'll be honest with you. He sang with me a few times. I can tell you he can't sing. But what I would suggest is that is still up to his conference to decide.
Yeah, well, you're here. We're talking to you about what you think.
But look, I think he still has. I think 73.
You're basically saying he should go. He should continue.
Yeah, I think he should continue.
But you're doing that politician speak.
I'm done running for office. I don't have to worry about that anymore.
Well, you said it's a decision for this, for that.
It is. It ultimately comes down to whether or not he has the fire to want to continue to do it. Look, just because a guy doesn't have any rhythm doesn't mean can't lead the Democratic Senate. Are there others that maybe pop up? Whether it be, I don't think Bennett's going to do it. Apparently, he's going to run for governor now in Colorado. Whether it's Cory Booker, as somebody mentioned before, that's up to them to decide. They have to have the political will to challenge that as well.
To quote the famous lyricist, move, get out the way. Okay, seriously.
Is that Bob Dylan?
Ludicrous.
It's not Bob Dylan.
It's ludicrous.
It's ludicrous. But Bob Dylan had a similar line.
And if I may, Ludacris also said we have phone banks to reach voters in different area codes. Yeah, something to that effect.
Yes, many
Continue.
Areas. Here's the thing. Like, this is, and I understand, you know, professional respect and courtesy and everything else like that, but the public has said they want change. The public has said they're unhappy with Chuck Schumer. The public has said they're unhappy with the current state of the Democratic Party. That's what's got to change, and it has to start at the top. And here's the thing. I want to add this, because you showed, you know, sort of Bernie and AOC. I went to their rally in Los Angeles. I walked through that crowd. It was a shockingly non-diverse crowd for downtown Los Angeles. I was there. I walked through. I counted different kinds of people that I saw. And as great as AOC may be now, and as great as Bernie may be, what they demonstrated is the general problem also that the Democratic Party is having, which is if you can't get young brown people out there, if they're continuing to choose the couch over voting, the Democrats are going to lose in the midterms too. So new leadership is needed. It's got to start from the top. And Durbin retiring is a good example of how you change that.
So you look at the all-time low, 25%, low confidence in the Democratic leadership, and you say waiting itself is a risk.
Yes, it is very, very dangerous. And this is what happened with Joe Biden. This is what, you know, the one thing that Republicans have never had an issue with is eating their own, right? I mean, I remember when Eric Cantor got beat, right? And it was like, whoa, wait, he was a young guy. He still had a future. You've got to be willing to listen to what the public wants. And if the public is screaming for change, the public doesn't want reform anymore. They want things torn down. And the current Democratic Party is not answering that call. And Chuck Schumer is a symbol of that old way of operating.
Well, what I would also suggest, though, it's different from winning a deep blue district in New York and winning statewide or winning nationwide as well. Bernie Sanders does very well in Vermont. He had huge rallies when he ran for president, bigger rallies than Joe Biden. Who won the primary? Who won the presidency? Joe Biden did. So I think that Democrats, yes, we have to appeal to our base. We have to appeal to people of color. We have to appeal to our overall base. We have to go beyond that as well. We have to appeal to
explain this. You say that. What is it that you feel about the incumbent, extant, increasingly sclerotic Democratic Senate leadership, with one person saying, hey, I'm 80, I'm out, and the others had their turn, that they are automatically better to do that for the future than change? In other words, you're here. You now represent the entire Democratic establishment and all of its mistakes. That's fair, right?
Oh, thank you very much. Let me go back on the show, Ari. Okay, I really appreciate it.
No, I'm kidding. People watch the show know I joke around a little bit, but on behalf of the Democrats, why do you state the argument as if more of the same is the best way to change past outcomes? Because Chuck Schumer has done a lot for the party, but they also just came off a losing election.
You're looking at one aspect of the party itself, and that is the leader of the U.S. Senate. Who's going to be number two now? I would argue it's going to be someone younger, I would imagine. Let's look at the House Representatives. Who's running the House Representatives? The first person of color is actually the leader of the House Representatives.
But you're not answering my question.
I am getting to it, because you're only focusing on one aspect of it, and that's all the people are focusing on.
But it's something we hear a lot from Democrats, which is, well, we just got to keep doing the same people and the same thing. I'm just asking.
I just don't believe that people are that focused on Chuck Schumer per se. I think he may have brought more pressure on himself on the vote that he took recently. But it's really not about Chuck. It's about winning back the House Representatives. I'll get in trouble for saying this. I don't think we can really win back the Senate. Having said that, I'm going to give it all we can to do it. I think the fight is in the House Representatives. And we have to win back those seats. And that's going to take Democrats appealing not just to our base, but to moderates and to actually some disjointed Republicans who don't like what this guy is doing.
That is the weakness of the party for the last two cycles. You win in 2020 by bringing out the base. The Democrats are losing their base now. You're losing the people who allowed you to win before. So if you don't go back and focus on them, there's too much energy spent on swing Republicans in suburbs and the actual men and women who build the party.
Big ideas, good sports, willing to talk back and forth, which we love on The Beat. My thanks to both of you, Joe and Jason. We'll be right back.